So obviously I'm diagnosed dyslexic, but dyslexic isn't what people call me. Sadly, a lot of the time I get called stupid. And not only do I get called stupid, but the person who is calling me stupid is often me. Deep down inside, it can be so frustrating being dyslexic that it's easier to just start calling myself stupid. And that a lot of the time comes from difficulty with processing speed. So this week's episode is going to be on processing speed in our month of dyslexic traits. And the reason I chose this is because when you understand processing speeds better, you're going to realize that you are definitely not stupid. This is the Dyslexia in Adults podcast. I'm Natalie Brooks, and in this show, we talk about dyslexia honestly and in a raw way that helps you realize you aren't alone and rebuild your confidence. So the first thing you have to understand about slow processing, it's not about capacity. It's not about how much you can understand, what you can get into your head, what you can wrap your mind around. It is about how you learn information and in what speed you're able to get your head around everything. So the first thing is, if you find yourself discounting or ruling out your ability to do something or understand a topic, absolutely not. You can learn anything. So funnily enough, I was actually explaining this yesterday to one of my one-on-one coaching clients who is a lawyer in the Supreme Court of the US. Now, she was really struggling with processing all of the documents that are associated with Supreme Court cases, as I'm sure you can imagine. But the problem she was facing, I see so many of you do. And she was trying to learn everything at once. She was so worried about the speed of which she could process that she focused on getting everything in all at once. But I need you to change your thinking. Instead of thinking about cramming everything into your head at once, try and do things single file. So what we started with is helping her build out the big picture. You know I love to talk about big picture. You know big picture is a big buzzword for dyslexia. But when you get an overview of something or a simple starter of getting a concept, it can be really helpful to then build in the detail in a single file way. So how I want you to recognize this dyslexic trait is this feeling of you've been spun around. Your head feels like it's going 1,000 miles an hour. That is a sign that you are starting to struggle with processing speeds. Because often with a lot of dyslexic traits, you have this feeling that things aren't going well, but identifying them and figuring out what to do next can be really difficult. So if you feel like someone has turned you around over and over again and your brain is spinning, at that exact moment, I want you to stop and ask yourself, do you understand the overview first? Or are you trying to piece in the detail? So if you're starting with the detail and feeling overwhelmed, that's probably a sign that the way you're approaching processing might not be right for your dyslexic brain. So here are the 3 traits we've talked about. Processing speeds is all about how you get that information in. It's not what you can and can't handle. And then secondly, when we're thinking about processing from a dyslexic perspective, starting with the overview and then building in the detail is really important. And then finally, when you're feeling overwhelmed and your head is spinning, please remember that you just need to start with getting that overview. When you understand that, you can move forward and build up to the detail. But don't stay flustered. Thank you for listening to this week's episode on slow processing. I hope you're enjoying our month on dyslexic traits. And if, like this episode, you've realized you need the overview of dyslexia rather than just an individual trait, make sure you check out our free guide where we break down everything you need to know about dyslexia. It's in the show notes below.